Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy. It's a pleasure. It's my honor as usual to always be greeting you and bring this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look no other place but to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. Thus, the reason why I want to speak to you today concerning how Abdullah taught Neville Goddard that his philosophy is what was creating his reality. So I want to speak to you concerning how your philosophy creates your reality. And at the time when Abdullah taught Neville Goddard this valuable lesson, Neville didn't understand what Abdullah was really trying to teach him. For it was a time of Great Depression. It was actually called the Great Depression. It was around 1929 to 1939. But more specifically, it was around 1933 that Neville Goddard had a very strong desire to travel to Barbados. I've been studying with Abdullah for over, 5 years. And so when Abdullah told Neville that he was already in Barbados, and Neville knew that he was actually in New York. He could have seen the buildings in New York. He could have seen all of the signs and so on. And he believed that actually he was in New York. And so as time go by, nothing was really happening to prove what Abdullah would have told him. But to cut a long story short, what Abdullah really wanted to get across to Neville is that everything he was teaching him must be experienced, and this experience is what would convince him that truly his philosophy is what creates his reality, and that when he discovers that his philosophy is what creates his reality, that he must teach it to the rest of humanity. Because could you imagine you being a young man in the time of the Great Depression and you have no work, but yet you have a desire to travel and you have no money, and someone is saying to you that you have already gone, you will have already taken this trip, that time isn't real, and you have to live from within. You have to live with the conviction from within that your imagination creates your reality. Therefore, you have to change your belief system. Now, Neville, having grown up in the Caribbean, he was started to believe in a power outside of himself. He was started to believe in a God outside of himself. And so it was very hard for Neville to come to this understanding. But when he did exactly what Abdullah told him, by using his imagination every night before he go to bed and see himself sleep in his mother's home in Barbados, and when he walked the streets of New York, see himself as if he's walking the streets of Barbados, he was teaching him to change his concept of self. That's why he said to Neville that, Neville, you must begin with self first. You got to change yourself first. So basically what I'm trying to tell you, the concept that you hold about yourself will determine your reality. It will determine also your personality. That's the reason why I wrote a book called Your Mood is Your Fortune, teaching you concerning the concept that you hold about yourself. So my brothers and my sisters, now, with all of that being said, when you look at the system and the way how we grew up, and the things that we were taught by our parents, our teachers in school, our politicians, and our preachers, you will realize that they have never really teach us how important it is to be in control of our mind, of our thinking. They have never really taught us that it's actually our own thought that is creating our reality, and that we can create our reality consciously, that we can really be whatever we want to be. And so they give us their kind of philosophy, and their philosophy is for us to be in division. Their philosophy is for us to look to a power outside of ourselves. Their philosophy is this for us to walk around with guilt, shame, and condemnation. But Abdullah showed Neville Goddard that he would no longer walk around with guilt, shame, and condemnation when he realized that it is his own philosophy that is creating his reality. So Abdullah said to Neville, say, you will drink, you will smoke, you will sex, you will do all of these things because you will break out of the box. So basically, the mindset that this system wants to shape in us is to keep us in a box, is to keep us in the matrix. But my brother and my sisters, I want to say to you that if things are not working in your life, or if you're not seeing your life the way that you wish your life to be, I believe you have to check your philosophy, because you cannot put old wine with new wine. You cannot do that. And so many of us who would have grown up in secular Christianity, whereby the Bible started us as later in secular history, sometimes you want to put that old wine with this new wine of self-realization. So whatever results that you're getting in your life, it have to do with your mentality. So if you change your mind, you will change your life. That is why you're told, be not conformed to the system of the world or the kind of mindset that they want you to have, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So Abdullah was teaching Neville to renew his mind by changing his philosophy, because it is your philosophy that is creating your reality. So if you have a philosophy of poverty, and you change the philosophy of poverty to one of prosperity, to one of abundance, that is what you would reap. For as a man thinketh it in his heart, so is he. And let me say this, thoughts become things. We become what we think about. So my brother and my sisters, it all have to do with your mind. So if you want to fix your life, fix your mind, fix your thinking. Now, we live in a world where there's a great flood of information, and many people get themselves drowned in information, and they keep getting more and more information, and they ever learning but never coming to the knowledge of the truth, because they're not putting things to work in their life. They're hearers, but they are not doers. The Bible says, when you live like that, you're deceiving yourself. You're like a man who behold his face in the mirror and go away and forget what manner of man that he is. So Neville learned from Abdullah that he have to change his philosophy. He have to change his belief system. Not just by saying so, but by putting certain things into action. Okay, and it wasn't until he put certain things into action and he gets the result that he understand this whole teaching and was willing to share it with the rest of humanity. So my brother, my sisters, this whole message I'm bringing to you, it is a testimony. And I am giving you this testimony so you will get your own testimony, because I know how this message of self-realization has worked for me, and I know how it can work for you too if you will apply the teaching in your life, if you put your imagination to work, if you'll be more conscious the way you go to bed, the way you wake up on mornings, and the way you live throughout the day, if you will be conscious of your thoughts, if you become more responsible for your thoughts, and you be more aware of what kind of philosophy you have in your life, what kind of belief system you have, then you will be doing yourself a great service if you do that. So my brother, my sisters, what I'm doing here right now is encouraging you to think more wisely. I'm encouraging you to take a little time out that you can be in a little isolation where you can really think of your life and decide where you want to go. Because a ship without no compass is leading nowhere. But I want to say to you, you have a compass, you have a guide, you have your intuition. Let your intuition lead you and guide you so that you will have the right perception of life and that you will have the right concept of who you are and how you are to live your life and experience the highest version of yourself. And that was what Abdullah taught Neville Goddard, to discover the highest version of himself by changing his belief system, changing his philosophy. So my brother, my sisters, I want to say to you that there are many people all around the world who fail to realize that it is actually their philosophy that is creating their reality. That's the reason why they blame the devil and they blame everyone else except themselves. They look every place for the answers of life except looking within themselves. They look to politicians for the answers. Even right here in my country, they have ads where people are asking other politicians, what is your plan to take people out of poverty? When the only one can take you out of poverty is yourself, just by changing your mentality. And so my brother and my sisters, I am encouraging you that you are to take what I am saying and put it to work in your life. And all I'm saying, use your imagination to create your reality, because you can create your reality consciously, for it is your own thought that is creating your reality, and you are responsible for your thoughts. And the concept you hold about yourself would mean what the outcome would be. So my brothers and my sisters, there's no other greater encouragement I can give to you but to tell you to believe in yourself and to trust your God self, which is your higher self, which is the eternal body of man, your imagination. That's the creator in everyone. And that's why St. John 1 says that without him, there isn't anything made that was made, and that all things were made by him. My brother, my sisters, everything that you depend upon to help you in this life, it was first imagined, it was first a thought, it was first an idea. Even in the Genesis, it tells you God said, let there be, and there was. You cannot speak and it wasn't first a thought, for a word is a thought expressed. And the Genesis story is teaching you how you can create your reality consciously. It is teaching you how your philosophy is what is creating your reality. Therefore, go create your world and come into rest, come into Sabbath. When you see the manifestation of your creation and you are satisfied, even in sacred energy exchange, which is the word sex, when you come to that place of creation, because it is the creative act you are involved in, you come to a place, you reach a high place and you release, you come into rest, because the creative process is finished. Many times we see the result as a child. Okay, same thing, you can see your brainchild and you can say that is my brainchild. You look around and you see all the things that come to science and technology, and you say that's the brainchild of Tesla, that's the brainchild of Elon Musk, that's the brainchild of Jeff Bezos, that's the brainchild of the Wright brothers who bring forth the aeroplane. Orville and Wilbur Wright. We see the Graham Bell with the Alexander Bell, I think, with the telephone and so on. Okay, they are their brainchild. You have a right to bring forth your brainchild also. So, my brother and my sisters, have the right concept of yourself. This is what this whole message of self-realization is all about. And you're told also in Matthew 6:33 that when you seek first the kingdom of God's righteousness, that all these things that you should design this world, that they would be added unto you. And in Luke 17:21, you're told that the kingdom of God is within you. So when you seek to find yourself first, to discover yourself first, to know who you are, and you seek after wisdom, riches will follow you after. That is the mystery in the story of Solomon. Where he says, Solomon awake and realized it was a dream. This life is a dream, and one day you will awake out of the dream and have the right concept of who you are. And you will say, I and the Father are one. You will lay claim to your God self and change your perception. So I hope what I'm saying is really encourage you, it motivate you. I don't know what you might be going through, what you might be battling at this time. You might be working to get things manifest in your life and you're not seeing it happening. Just be patient. Habakkuk chapter 2 says that even if the vision tarry, wait, it is for an appointed time. But make sure to write down the vision. Okay, so my brother and my sister, I want to really thank you very much, and I really hope this message really encourage you, and I hope it's really burning in you to do something, to know what you want and to write it down and to get working towards it. Remember, there's something named the law of Goya. Get off of your ass. You got to do something. Okay, while you're using your imagination also, you got to do something. Okay, so make sure, get going. There's no greater joy than for me to receive testimonials from people saying how much they have benefit because they put things into action. They put what I'm saying to work in their life, and they prove it for themselves. Because once you prove it, once you are proven this one time, there's no one can convince you otherwise. That's why it said in the Bible that my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they won't hear. Because when you get the experience, you hear the voice. The voice is within you, teaching you the experience. You're hearing me from within. It is my higher self reaching out to your higher self. So the divine in me is saluting the divine in you and motivating the divine in you. So I know there's somebody that this message is going out to, because I can feel the pull. I can feel it and I know it, and I'm saying it now, and I'm waiting for the testimony. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, remember that your philosophy will always create your reality. Now, I want to say, if this is the very first time that you're listening to me and what I'm saying is really making sense to you and helping you and motivating you, and you want to be motivated even more, I want to say to you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share this video. But just before I leave you, I want to remind you that this message I bring to you, that it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body be full of light. And my brother and my sister, hadn't it been that my whole body was filled with light when the single eye awake within me. And I come to realize that when it says that you shall change from mortal to immortality in a twinkling of an eye, that twinkling of an eye is an opening of an eye where you will awake from the dream of life. And you will come to realize that in Acts 2, it is telling you of the great awakening that will take place in you. For you would first of all experience that great and mighty shaking, and then you would hear the mighty rushing wind, and you would ascend like a fiery being when the single eye opened within you. And when you ascend like a fiery being, you will burst your crown chakra. You come out of your skull and become invisible. And then you will understand the virgin birth story, the resurrection story. You will realize that your body is the empty tomb. You will understand your skull is Golgotha. And you will understand that the Bible is a spiritual autobiography that must be interpreted psychologically. That's the reason why I always say to you, do not let anyone ever brainwash or deceive you to make you believe that the eye above the pyramid and the US dollar, that it's an evil symbol. No, it is the all-seeing eye of God in you, who is your imagination. Also, you come to realize that it is the eye of the mystics, the seers, the prophets, those who will vibrate beyond humanity and come into their divinity and come beyond and go beyond the skull. And that is why I always put my hand right above my skull, my crown chakra, and say to you that when you have the experience, that you will experience that it is the rising of the SUN in a SON, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For the sun, as in the sun, parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life, and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you. And truly the Son, as in the sun, has never withhold any good thing from all of humanity. For the Son is what powers all of humanity and give all of humanity its energy. Then in Malachi chapter 4 and verses 2, you're told also that the Son of Righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And that is why when the Son has risen in me, I'm bringing healing to all of humanity by saying to each and every one to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire. For that was the lesson that was taught to Neville Goddard by our ancestor Abdullah. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.